with a lot smaller workspace, so it might
We're
That's right.
live.
a bit.
We are live right now. Let me check on the YouTube side and make sure that we're running. Let's see. It says waiting for Travis P11. It should start up here pretty soon. There we go. We are good. We are good. Looks like Travis M is out there right now. All right, guys, I want to welcome you to Caliber Corner number 5. We might be starting up just a minute early. We have a lot of guests on the panel today. Before we do that, let's see who's out there in the lobby. We've got Travis M up there. He says he's cooking. He's cooking up a storm right now, so we know the man is a master chef. And looks like G-Webs is out there. I'm sure we'll have more people joining in. And all right, so let's go ahead and introduce our panel for today. AWAG, what do you want to say, man? You got a channel or any videos you want to plug?
Good morning. How is everybody today? I am AWAG. Visit my channel for ridiculous reloading stuff, cars, guns, that kind of, that kind of deal.
Guns and cars, man. That's pretty much all you need. So, Squib, you want to say anything? What's going on, man?
Hey, good morning. I sent some messages to some other people on gun channels who were interested in reloading, or I know do reload, but I don't know if everybody could make it. Some people are in different time zones, and oh, hey, there's Dusty.
Right.
So hopefully we have an interesting chat.
Good morning, Dusty. Have you had breakfast yet?
No, I'm working at it.
All right. Like I said, this is an insane hour to do it, but I thought, hey, man, maybe somebody's on the road. They want to listen to us on the road. They're traveling, or, I mainly didn't want to overlap any of the other gun channels, family videos, and podcasts. So, Dusty, you got a channel you want to plug? You got anything you want to say this morning? I want to welcome you. Any comments, Dusty one? All right, we'll see if we can come back to him here. There you go.
I think I got things working now.
Cool. That's all right, man.
No channels really. So,
hey, man, I see you're a fellow car carrier. I like that. My daily's a CT9. Love it, man.
Oh, I love the little cars. I got to
It's a
shoot
fun-
one when I was out in Indiana. Oh,
Fun little gun,
great.
man. All right. Tony, you want to say anything? You got anything you want to plug while we're on?
We just do the early watch on weekdays when we can get somebody in there to open it.
Yeah, I was listening to you guys for a little while there. I just didn't have a lot of time. Otherwise, I'd joined in. But that was a good show you guys had going on. It was a good time. All right.
Let it roll.
There we go. Exactly. Well, something we wanted to discuss is we wanted to talk about the reloading, and we want to keep it simple. And I'm taking an interest in it now that I have a place where I actually have room to set up a reloading bench. I'm considering it, and we got I actually put homework assignment for AWAG and Squib to kind of come up with an outline, and Squib came out with a really cool outline. AWAG's got a copy of it. So, guys, we're just going to kind of bounce from topic to topic when we're talking about reloading. We want to keep it simple because there's a lot of people that have gotten into firearms. A lot of people got their CCWs. A lot of people are becoming shooting enthusiasts, and there's an increase in popularity. But when it comes to reloading, a lot of people maybe don't think about it. When it comes to the cost, they don't consider it. So let's just jump right into it. So, AWAG, Squib, you guys got the outline. Let's give the viewing audience some reasons to reload. What would be a reason why you'd want to consider reloading? AWAG, you want to start?
When it comes to reloading, for me, I started reloading with the 7.62x54R. It's already a cheap cartridge.
Yeah.
But what pushed me to reload that cartridge is you get increased accuracy for the same price.
Okay. It's fair enough.
Getting more bang for your buck.
All right, so the accuracy is there. So why not? If it's other than the labor of assembling the shells yourself, you get that increased in accuracy. So what are you averaging for right now? I can get a box of 7.62x54R Tula at Walmart, steel case, for $12, 11 or 12. It's gone up in price. It used to be $9.97. So what can you do 20 rounds for? What would you estimate?
20 rounds, I can get like that PPU match, if not better, for about a cent less than that.
Okay. So you're going to save 20 cents on a box, but the accuracy, which is a big deal with the Mosin. I mean, anything you can do to increase the accuracy on that, I think anything better than Minute of Man, I think would be considered, would be pretty solid. Squib, what about you? Kind of what's your experience with reloading? What would you say? What are some of the reasons why you do it?
Well, maybe what pushed me into reloading was the 577 450 Martini Henry round. That's
Okay.
black powder cartridge. There were two companies making it. Now only one company makes it. They seem to rarely put it out there, and it's about $180 for 20 rounds, I think it is.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Whoa! I didn't realize it was that expensive.
Well,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
they've flooded the market with these rifles. These rifles from the 1880s. And if anybody's ever seen any of the Zulu movies, those are the rifles that the British are using. It's a single-shot breech load black powder cartridge rifle from the 1880s.
Yeah.
And they used them all the way into World War One. There's a lot of surplus all over, and there's still plenty of them available, depending on their condition. Their values are, you know, anywhere from affordable to collector grade prices. However, if you want to shoot them, they're shooters. The steel's still sturdy in them. You pretty much got to make your own ammo. And if you don't have reload equipment, you're not going to do it. So that was one of the things. The other thing was some of the cartridges I like to shoot, like 30-06 and whatnot. I mean, $25 a box or more, depending. And I can reload for a lot less than that. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, especially notice with 308, man, you really got to kind of hunt around if you want to find that $10 for a box of 20. You know, they used to have the ZQI or ZQ1. ZQI used to be $10 for a box of 20, but I can get some PPU, but that's pretty much all I can find for, you know, $10 a box for 20 rounds. So you can save a little bit there. So we talked about the idea that you can save money. That's the main thing. Even though we've got already readily available online reloaded ammo, but if you can beat that price, why not? You know, you can do it yourself. Creating obsolete ammunition, Tony. Yeah.
I need to interject a second here, because you ain't going to save a dime. You're going to shoot a hell of a lot more for your money.
True.
That's the way it's going to work out.
True. Unless you want to build up a stockpile, maybe you want to just kind of get your own private cache going on, you know.
That's probably a better way to put it. You get more range time for your dollar. That might be a better way to put it, because I can tell you some of the reloading I do is so that my kids can shoot, and you know, taking two kids to the range gets a little pricey, but now we can spend more time there if I make up enough ammo in advance, and I can do it for less money.
You know, I agree with you on that. You know, the shooting for a dollar. Tony, you're right, man. I ordered 1,000 rounds of 9mm from Freedom Munitions. They get paid like, I don't remember what it was, $135, $140 delivered brass. And I went to the range every day after it showed up. I took 100 to 200 rounds along with my rifles out there, and I've burned through 700 or 800 rounds of it already in like the last 2-3 weeks. I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot, but that's a lot for me. I used to only take 50 to 100 rounds maybe once a month. So yeah, you are going to fire through it quicker. Anytime you can save on those shells, you know you're saving money, you're definitely going to burn through it a lot faster. Obsolete ammunition. Oh, go ahead, Tony. Yeah.
After I got the Martini Henry rifle, a couple years later, I ended up getting a Hungarian Mannlicher straight pull rifle. Another rifle that nobody makes ammo for. I found a company that had reload dies. I found a company that reformed 7.62 by 54 rimmed brass to fit the 8x50. It's not an 8x50 Lebel. It's an 8x50 Mannlicher. So it's you can use 308 bullets in it and whatnot. So I got all the reload equipment for that. I haven't made any shells for it, but I've got two rifles that use ammunition that you have to make, or it's very hard to find to buy. Another thing with that too is we all remember the ammo shortages.
Oh yeah, that was another thing I want to talk about. Yeah.
Now I've seen the goofy reload kits for 22 long rifle. It's not a centerfire cartridge, so it's not something that you would typically reload. I don't know if those actually work, but as far as for centerfire cartridges, if you have reload equipment, powder, you know, components, all the stuff you need, while everybody else is running to the gun show paying ridiculous prices, or you know, it looks like a bunch of moms fighting over Cabbage Patch dolls in the 80s.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
You know, you're sitting on your pile reloading and go, you know, so
that, I mean, I can, you know, exactly. After I bought my my first AR, it was just 2 weeks before Sandy Hook. I only bought 40 rounds for it. I thought, I'll buy 100 rounds down the road. I'll buy a couple hundred rounds for it. Sandy Hook happened. I couldn't find a box of 5.56. My life depended on it. And if I could, I was very brand limited. And that, I mean, you know, didn't matter if I went to Cabela's, didn't matter if I went to Walmart, it was gone. So to have that ability to make it, and you might say, well, there's nothing that's going to happen now. You know, we're safe with Trump. There won't be any more ammo scares in that. You know, we might, one little mention of regulation or one little, or just government. You know, think about the, what was it, the M855 green tip? You know, that right there. I mean, boom, instantly the prices on it tripled, you know, overnight. So to think that you've got that ability, you know, on you, I mean, that alone is definitely a valuable ability right there. I mean, that's something you definitely want to think about doing. And again, go ahead, Tony.
Trump ain't going to be president forever.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's going to happen if we get somebody in there that isn't so gun friendly and they want to talk about regulation or they want to limit the amount you can buy? Heck, I mean, in states, that's something I was kind of curious about real quick. States where, is there any regulation on reloading in California or New York? Do you guys know? Is there any, are you only allowed to, can you reload as much as you want? It seems like a stupid question, but don't they make you pass a background check every time you buy a box of ammo?
I could tell you.
Here in Illinois,
it causes cancer. What?
What?
I said in California it causes cancer.
Well, yeah, everything does when you think about it, though. So, no, I was just kind of curious that, you know, that's another nice thing is you don't have to go through the hassle of doing those checks or being limited as to where you can buy your ammo because you can produce your own at home, you know, as long as you got the supplies.
here in Illinois, there's no regulation, and we're pretty bad about regulating everything. So,
yeah,
I think there might be limits on how much powder you can store without having a magazine.
Okay.
I ain't checking into that because I don't want people to suspect that I have that much powder.
Yeah. You know,
there are limits on what you can travel with by air. I have actually been out of state and on vacation and found reload components or ammunition that wasn't available locally to me in Michigan and bought it and put it in my luggage and came back. If you go on the airline's website or the TSA, it'll say, I think it's like 11 pounds of powder and so many pounds of primer and so many pounds of ammunition in your luggage. So if you happen to be traveling and you find some goodies, you can bring them back.
That's something I never thought about either. And, you know, now would be the time to get into reloading because I remember, again, shortly after Sandy Hook, guys were complaining because you couldn't even get reloading supplies. So if you got ready access to powder now, primers and slugs or casts or whatever, dyes, whatever, get into it. Why not? You know, it's something new to start up. And again, what we're seeing a lot on with the internet now, we've got so much more availability of firearms. So Squib, going back to what you're talking about, you've got all these surplus rifles that are popping up, but you've got expensive ammunition or limited ammunition available for those guns, if it even exists at all. And so, yeah, no, that guns, you can't really, unless you want to buy it just as a collector piece just to show off or Safe Queen or whatever, if you can't get ammo for it, it's pretty much pointless. So you might as well go ahead and get into reloading anyway. Something to definitely consider. Now let's talk about the fun relaxation side of it. So, AWAG, Squib, any of you guys, Tony, do you enjoy the process or do you see it as kind of a labor, something you don't really look forward to? What's kind of your mindset when you go into reloading?
Very therapeutic.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty relaxing, especially when jumping back to the previous question of why do you reload. It's also with ammo, basically ammo customization. Like you can make anything you want it to be or do. You can have subsonic loads, you can have supersonic loads, you can have low recoil, high recoil if you want. But it's relaxing when you see. With safety and everything with reloading, it's very, very critical. But once you start learning the cartridge that you're working with, you know the firearm that it's working with, you can understand basically its limits. You can basically fine-tune all of the little powder and intricacies of that cartridge to basically make a 1 MOA shooter shoot half MOA.
And, you know, especially if you're a competitor, you know, if you're somebody who does long distance competitions or accuracy competitions or gong shoots and things like that, that is going to make the difference between, you know, winning and not. And to have that kind of ability to your hands right there, something that beats anything commercial available on the shelves, definitely something we should consider getting into.
Yeah, Bullseye on Gun Channels, I believe he's a competitive shooter and he does his own reloading for ultra precision type, what I've heard him say. real precision stuff.
Yeah.
I would venture to say that 99% of people who are shooting professionally for accuracy reload their own.
Foose reloads, but I think it's because of the volume of ammo that he shoots at his competitions. He couldn't make it today actually because he's at a competition. And another thing too is I would like to gradually get my kids into it, because I think if they reloaded their own ammunition and then they turned around and shot it at the range, they'd get more enjoyment out of. I mean, they already enjoy going to the range, and I mean, they don't even mind cleaning guns. I don't ask them to do it very often, but they haven't complained about that. So I think that if they made up some of their own shells, they might enjoy it even more, because not only did I get to shoot it, but that's something I made with my own hands. You know what I mean? I mean, there's just there's a complete just something complete about from beginning to end. It's like a miniature project.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this little voyage that you take. I know I look forward to coming home and cleaning my firearms. I can take an hour or whatever just to go through the pistol, to clean it off, to make sure it's ready to go. I mean, I don't even, you kind of lose track of your thoughts when you're doing it. Now, granted, you don't want that to happen when you're reloading ammo, but the relaxation side of it, just enjoying the whole process of it, it's a fun hobby. I can see how you could definitely enjoy that more,
Well, the thing is that when you're reloading, you're thinking about reloading and not all the crap during your day.
Yeah. I took a day off work yesterday just to use up a vacation day, and I reloaded 44 Magnum. I did it real slow, real precise. I was just doing some test loads, and was on the early watch on my phone while I was doing it, and just had a nice, relaxing, quiet day. It was something I really needed, because I'm always at work. I'm one of those workaholic guys, and it was just so nice to just sit at my reload bench and just chat. And I focus more on the reloading than the talking, but it was just really relaxing.
True. Dusty, do you have any experience with reloading? Do you do a lot of reloading on the side at all, or?
I did, but
Okay.
one thing you'll find with reloading, after you do it, you'll get into it, you'll go like crazy for a while.
Yeah.
Then you'll get such a stockpile buildup that, like right now, I have really no reason to reload. I have so much ammo stacked around.
But you can, and you know how to do it, and that's the most important thing. When you need to, you can. That.
Right, everything's still, it's in the room set up, and it's ready to go. So if I needed something, I can go load it.
Now, something we had. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I kind of got in. I started out doing pistol ammo. Well, then I kind of advanced into the fine-tuning ammo for my rifles, and which is great, because my setup, I can load 2 or 3 loads, walk out the back door, and fire them and actually see what they do.
Oh,
so
there you go.
I like that.
Definitely. Something that was on our little outline here that we were talking about is, have any of you guys inherited equipment, or have anybody just give you the equipment that got into it? So you're sitting around with the equipment, but you didn't know what to do initially? Because that was Squib, or what do you guys think?
The reason I put that in there was when I was a kid, my grandfather was still around, and he reloaded shotgun shells. And I remember seeing the reload press down there. He had a room for his guns and things like that. But other than trying to fix my SKS rifle once when I was an adult, I never really did any gun stuff with my grandfather, and I had no idea he was into hunting and competitive shotgun shooting and things like that. And when he passed away, all his stuff is with another relative somewhere, and I haven't talked to her in a long time. And I thought about looking her up and saying, hey, do you still have Grandpa's reload stuff? Just because I feel like it'd be kind of rude. It's kind of like, you haven't talked to me in over 10 years and now you just want his stuff. And it's like, well, it's not quite that. I'm always at work. That's why I don't talk to anybody in the family. But I do want his stuff. And I think if my grandpa knew that I was into reloading now, I mean, granted, I'm doing center fire cartridges and he was doing shotgun shells. But if I had his stuff, I'd get into shotgun shells. I mean, I may get into it either way, but it's just like, it's, now it's kind of like a family heirloom. And I'm just wondering, I wonder if anybody ever was into shooting but never really interested in reloading, and then grandpa, great uncle, somebody passes away and somebody goes, hey, you're into shooting, here, you take this, and all of a sudden they got all these presses and they're going, what do I do with this?
Well, I'm in that position. If anybody wants to donate a press, I will be more than happy to take it off your hands. I'll pay the shipping for it. Just give me a holler, let me know, because I'm looking at buying a setup right now, and I don't even know where to start. So I'm hoping after this, I'll have a better idea. No, that's true, man.
Well, you know what? You could go on Craigslist and find used
Oh, yeah.
equipment, and it could be something that somebody left behind and nobody in the family has any idea what to do with.
That's a good point. That's a good place to
Yeah,
check.
if you don't care if it's
Yeah.
used, and really, I mean, a used press will be just fine. They're pretty sturdy. So used press, used dies, they should be in good shape. Worst case with the die is maybe you got to change out a decap pin or something like that, which are fairly inexpensive and available.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, this is all heavy steel stuff. So I mean, my beam scale was used. I bought it at a gun show. So
Okay. Well, guys, let's
And
just go right. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I've bought a lot of mine off of eBay too. That's
Yeah.
another good place to bid on it.
Yeah, just an entry level set on Amazon is going to run you over $200. So if you can beat that price, why not? Definitely. So let's go ahead and get right into it, guys. Tools. Let's talk about the press. We've got single stage turret progressive. You guys want to comment on that? What should a person look at buying if they just want to get into the basics of reloading, or what's the advantages of one versus the other?
I would
If you're
start,
starting out,
sorry.
go ahead.
I would start out with a single stage press, probably like an RCBS rock chucker. That's what I started out using, and I still use it. But there are things that you can do with a single stage that you really can't do with the progressive, because me, as my machinist background is that the single stage press has less moving parts, which means tighter tolerances more or less for less moving parts, so there's less wiggle room and everything. This is getting really advanced, like precision stuff. Whereas if you were to have like a Dillon 6 turret multi-stage press, there's a lot of moving parts, and sometimes that some of your dies and stuff will not be exactly concentric with the cartridge that it's trying to do a process on. Therefore, you can get inconsistencies in your ammo.
Yeah.
But as a starter, it would definitely work out to be great for a single stage, because basically you can learn the cartridge and you can see exactly what's going on.
So what exactly happens with the single stage press? Educate me. I honestly have no idea. What does the single stage comprise? What does it consist of?
It's
You-
go
Anyone?
ahead.
Yeah.
You can put one die in a single stage press. That's it. With a turret press or progressive press, you can put all of the dies in.
Okay.
You need a die to do one or more process to the brass, to form it, to pop out the old primer, to open it up so you can put the bullet in. You can put a powder through to drop powder in if you have that set up. It's not always there. To put the bullet in, to seat it to the right height, to crimp the neck of the brass around the bullet. All these things are things that you can do with the dies, and you can get as complicated as you want or as basic. You can have as little as a 2-die set, and you can have probably 4 or 5 dies if you're Mr. Ultra Precision, or you've got something really complicated. With a single stage, you're going to have to put that die in, set it to the right height, and make your adjustments, do that process. So say you had 100 pieces of brass. You're going to run 100 through. Then you're going to take that die out. You're going to put in the next die for the next process. Set that one up, run 100 through. With a turret press, you can set all your dies up, and you just spin it manually around to whatever station you're at. So you can either do one cartridge at a time, where you just do the step, turn it, do the step, turn it, do the step, turn it, or you could do the same thing you do with that that single stage press, and do 50 or 100 pieces all of one, then turn it to the next station, do 50 it's your choice. With the progressive, you set it all up, and it's all automated. It rotates around, and every time you pull the lever, it does a different process. So it moves from station to station to station, and your first one's going to go through all the processes, and the second one will follow, and you can crank out a lot more. The thing about the progressive is for your precision loads, or for a test load or something like that, it's really not what it's meant for. It's meant for mass production. So if you're going to make a whole bunch of 115 grain 9mm for plinking,
Yeah.
That's you want to crank out 1,000 rounds of that, go for it. If you were doing a test batch like the 44 magnums I was doing yesterday, this is the first time I've done 44 magnums, so I was making 10 or 20 of each type using different bullets, different powders, different primers, testing out and making notes as I went along. I would not do that on a progressive press. So
Would you say that turret would be kind of that nice kind of happy medium for a beginner? Would that be something worth the investment?
it's my favorite, but there's no way I would give up my 2 single stage presses.
Okay, okay. So one could start with one and then upgrade down the road if they want to, or have a single stage for a certain round and then move over to turret once they maybe master it a little bit more.
Well, to give you an idea, the 577 450 Martini Henry round, I
Yeah.
cannot do that in a turret press or even some single stage press. I actually have to get a single stage press that is a little bit beefier, that has a bigger diameter. I don't know what that's called, a collet for the dies on that. Most of the dies are, I forget, there's 2 thread sizes, and I've got a single stage press that has an insert in it, a bushing, and the inside diameter of that bushing is for most of your dies. You take that bushing out, and all of a sudden you can fit the big honking dies in there, and there aren't very many cartridges that are like that. But
Okay, okay. But again, you just have to make sure that you're ready for that once you get into it. So,
I-
go ahead,
I
Tony.
I actually started with a Lee Lodahl, which is not a press at all. It's just a die of sorts that you use a mallet with, and you do it all by hand. It's all very slow.
Okay.
And I upgraded to the hand press that Dano just bought, which was the most god awful thing I ever seen. And then I went to a single stage Lee, the Challenger, and I've been using that for 30 years.
yeah, the Challenger's nice.
The-
I didn't put hand press in the outline because I was going to take a show of hands how many people here say that hand press sucks.
Yeah.
It does.
A hand press is something you literally fit it in your hand. It looks like that squeeze tool you can use for exercise in your hand for hand strength. You can do one round at a time. It's something that you would put in your range bag and take to the range. If you actually wanted to, Deucin Guns has got a video, I think, where he shoots a 223 and reloads it right there on the spot. And I think he uses a hand press to do it. So you could do a quick, it's going to be nothing precision, but you could do small batches or reload an individual round right there, Johnny, on the spot with it if you've got enough hand strength. But I left it out of the outline because nobody uses those.
Yeah, I didn't even know that existed.
If you're
Yeah.
going to try to full length size bottleneck rifle case, you're in for a workout.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds like good exercise. You can get some cardio.
No, don't promote this. No. Leave it out.
Okay, all right. Don't.
It's bad.
AWAG, what were you gonna say, man?
Now, running to the single stage presses to speed it, you can basically upgrade the RCBS Rock Chucker. I use these. I don't know how well you guys can see this. If I can.
It's coming up. It looks just fine. Yeah.
I use these Hornady lock and load. It's basically, to put it in perspective, it's like a bolt action rifle, kind of like the Bolt. It just goes into basically an inverted version of this bottom piece. And all you have to do is give it a little 30-degree turn and it'll lock it in there. That way you speed up your die changes, and instead of
use those
screwing
in a
it all the way
rocket.
out and then screwing it all the way back in.
Yeah, Lee has collars in theirs that you can do that with too, but I don't change that much.
Yeah.
So you just thread a bushing into the press that fits this. That's got the
Those little teeth
guides
in
for
it?
the
Yeah.
lugs. Oh, okay. So you don't have to use it with a Hornady.
Nope.
See, I thought those were only for the Hornady Progressive. See, learn something new all the time.
There you
Yep.
go.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about this. What are dies?
Dies are the actual hardware that you use to resize and prep the case,
Okay.
plus seating the bullet and crimping the
Yeah,
case to
they're-
lock the bullet in if you need to.
There's usually 3 different dies, or you can have more, or you can have less, depending on who you buy from. These are Lee dies that I use for 223, basically for my ARs. When it comes to semi-automatics, you want to have a full-length sizer, which is this one right here. Basically, this little pin right here punches the primer out of the spent case, and it resizes the entire case.
Oh.
Because when you shoot especially with semi-automatics, when that extraction happens, it basically stretches the brass a little bit.
Hmm.
So this full-length sizer specs, and occasionally you do get some brass left over at the top. That's I forgot to bring my trimmer. It's kind of anchored to my reloading bench, which is in my garage.
That's all
But
right.
you would trim that off, and then you would go with your once you get the new primer put in and then you put a bullet on top of your case and then you drive it through this one right here, which is your bullet seater. And this little knob up here, you can adjust the seating depth of your bullet. And after that, you use maybe sometimes use this with semi-automatics. I would use this. This is the a little factory crimp die, which basically squeezes the brass around the bullet a little bit, so
Hmm.
it keeps neck tension on it in case you like drop around. It doesn't shove the bullet farther into the case.
Okay. Okay. Well,
I'm gonna
simple enough concept to understand. Yeah, Tony.
I'm gonna kind of go into that just a little bit on the full length sizing versus neck sizing. If you're reloading for just one rifle, you could get by with neck sizing a case, unless it's semi-automatic, because they sometimes don't want to feed a case that's been blowed out a little bit.
Yeah.
For more than one, you really have to full length resize the case,
Okay.
or you're going to find yourself having problems.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's that's the last thing that we need. Okay, measuring out the powder scales. What do you guys recommend for scales?
At least two, one digital, one beam.
Yes, I second that.
Powder's the one place we can't screw around. That's so you guys measure the quantity of powder on both scales to make sure that there's no variance between them.
There's a reason my screen name is Squib Load.
Ah, I was wondering about that. I was kind of curious. I didn't know if it had something to do with movies, like the squibs that blow up, or
So a squib is when you put a primer in the cartridge when you load it or reload it, and you have no powder or not enough powder. And what ends up happening is the bullet comes out of the case and goes partway down the barrel and jams in the barrel.
mm-hmm.
The second one, if it's I think even if it's a squib load, if it's enough to get the bullet out of the case, it's going to hit that other bullet and either jam in the barrel or explode the gun.
Oh,
Yes.
So how much margin of error are you allowed in powder before you're going to get a squib load, or you're going to get something that's overloaded? What are we talking? Like, is grams? Is that what the powder's measured in?
It's measured in grains.
Grains. Okay. Okay. All right.
Grains
But the
is an
bullet-
old unit of measure. It doesn't necessarily reflect the actual grain of powder, because powder comes in three different shapes.
Yeah.
Flake, grain, and ball, I think. Or well, the stick is really, I wouldn't call it a grain. A stick is like a elongated roll that's chopped into pieces. But
Okay.
so if anybody thinks a grain means 5 grains means there's 5 little flakes of powder, no, a grain is actual weight, a unit.
Yeah,
of
it's
weight.
1/7,000th of a pound. There's
Thank you.
7,000 grains to a pound.
Okay. Oh, well, okay. Simple enough. A lot of people, when they're buying ammo, I've talked to people before, 115 grain, 147 grain. I think they think that's the powder reference and not the bullet weight.
Right.
Because the bullet weight's the same thing too, right?
Right. You can put your bullet on a scale to verify your scale's calibrated.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So, again, very important. Okay, calipers.
The margin of
Oh, go ahead,
error
Tony.
for
Yeah.
overload is, in a handgun, it's not a hell of a lot. I mean, 1 grain weight could blow a gun to bits. It
Yes.
shouldn't.
But if it's an
But
older gun,
On plastic semi-autos, a grain is a lot. Like in a 9mm, hell, that's 20 or 25% of the load.
Okay.
And now with some rifles, that 1 grain can throw off your accuracy a lot. But talking about pressure-wise, there are some old rifles like the Mosin that you can basically take a case, fill it all the way up with powder, scrape it off, slam a bullet on it, and it'll eat it, no problem. But should you do that? No, you really shouldn't do that. But sometimes there's a different margin of error for different firearms depending on the caliber and cartridge.
Yeah.
yeah, I think rifle is more forgiving than handgun. But depending on the caliber, the cartridge that you're loading, you may only have a few grains available to you, and a tenth of a grain could make all the difference. I was talking to Jimmy yesterday online, and he was reloading 45 ACP for the first time, and I said, don't be surprised when you put the powder in there and you look down in the case and you go, that's it. And I mean, you can shake it and you can hear the powder. You do not fill one of those with powder. You put so little powder in there that you kind of have to look into it with a light to see if there's anything in there. So there is a risk of double charging, because you put the powder in there and then you look and go, oh, I must have forgot that one. Then you add another charge. So the scales they come in very, very, they're critical when you're setting up this stuff and when you're double checking.
So yeah, anybody getting into reloading, you need to be very attentive. Don't sit there and watch Facebook videos while you're reloading. You need to make sure, just as a safety precaution, our disclaimers, if you're not paying attention to that powder, yeah.
What I do is, what I learned from my mistakes is I tell my family in advance, I'm going downstairs to reload. Don't bug me for several hours. If you need something, tell me right now, and I'll take care of it right now, but don't come down there and tell me that your internet isn't working or something else like that, because that's how I destroyed a barrel, was because I got interrupted a couple times. I went upstairs a couple times and I missed, I made some squibs, and I jammed 2 bullets down the barrel, and thank goodness the gun didn't explode. I just was out of barrel, but it could have been a lot more catastrophic. And that's when I said, okay, I either have to decide, am I reloading today or am I not? And if I've got too much stuff going on, I'm not even going to say I've got a few hour window, I'm going to try to squeeze this in. No, it's either I can make the time or I can't. And I let my family know this is important. My kids understand firearms, so they understand that, dad's being serious and that sort of thing. And I make sure that I have everything I might possibly need to do out of the way. Some of the guys got man caves to go away to. My man cave is downstairs. I really wish it was in a pole barn so I could get further away. I recommend that if at all possible. Get as far away from everything.
Well, yeah, no, safety is paramount. When we're talking about this, you're not just playing with fireworks here. I mean, obviously we don't want anybody to get injured that's going to get into it for the first time. You got to educate yourself a little bit. Pay attention to all the safety precautions. Don't get distracted while you're doing it. And if you think you maybe misloaded a shell, redo it.
Yes, you can actually take apart the cartridge after you load it. If you're not sure or you made a mistake or something, there are tools to dismantle it so you can reuse the components. Okay. I've done that. I've dismantled an entire small batch of test load and found some mistakes because I let myself get distracted and that sort of thing. I don't put myself in that situation anymore. It just isn't worth it.
Yeah.
Jumping back. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go anyway. Yeah.
Jumping back to the basically taking apart ammo. Sometimes what I do is some of my barrels for the 223 are 1-in-7 twist, and they really don't like the 55 grain ammo. So what I do sometimes is I'll have like 400 rounds of 55 grain stuff. I will actually take that bullet off, dump the powder out, clean the case, and basically put in my load that I developed for that specific case, and basically remanufacture ammo. And some of the stuff works fantastic, and it saves you money, and you also have components that you can set aside for later in case you buy another rifle that has a slower twist or something.
You need to start marketing. You call it the AWAG 556. It sounds like the new TAC cool round. Custom tailored for 1-in-7 twist barrels, huh?
Yeah,
definitely. All right, calipers. Why do we need calipers? What are we measuring? Why do we care?
Overall length of cartridge, case length, bullet diameters in some cases.
When the case stretches, you need to measure it to make sure that it's within a certain length. If it stretches a little bit, it's no big deal. If it stretches a lot, you have to trim it down. Okay. If it's been reused multiple times and it's been trimmed multiple times, you can actually trim it below a minimum, in which case you can't use it. Or there are some calibers that you can actually cut down and resize a little bit. I know the 9x18 Makarov, you can take a 9x19 and shave it down. Well, you don't want to load you don't want to load a case that's head stamped 9x19 that you picked up off the range for 9x19 when it's really been cut down a millimeter. I've found those actually, and it's looking at it you can't really tell, but measuring you can. That's why I don't like to shoot anything with a head stamp that is different than what the only exception I make is my 8x50 rim Mannlicher rounds. Those are cut down Mosin Nagant rounds, but I've only got 20 of those cases anyhow. Other than that, I won't use something that's been with the head stamp doesn't match. Now, other people might do that, and that's just fine. Everybody's got a different preference, but with your calipers, you can check that. Then after you seat the bullet, during the reload process, you want to make sure that it's not in too far or out too far.
Okay. So calipers definitely something that's absolutely crucial. The actual process itself of going through this and getting ready to do this, we have case prep, lubrication, chamfer, and deburring tools. What can you guys share a few words on that? What exactly is the process to prep your spent brass?
With brass, sometimes I don't know how it is with pistols, but most of your bolt action rifle cartridges, if you're starting to reload and you have some test loads, you don't necessarily have to have your brass be spotless, because usually with the inside of the case, the powders nowadays are so efficient that most of the time the carbon fouling is minimal, so you don't necessarily have to clean the inside every time you reload it, but it would just be good to keep your dies and stuff clean. But if you want to, you always have to keep some sort of cleanliness to what you're doing, and it's kind of critical when it comes to the outside, because if you have a very dirty outside case, it can set off different different dimensions of the case and potentially make a pressure spike if you're loading hot hot hunting ammo or something.
Okay. What about? So we're talking about
So
Gene?
this is the part on the outline that I screwed up on. I really didn't put
no,
anything in
no.
there about. Well, no, I did. I caught it later, and then I was too lazy to go back and send like a third email.
Yeah. No, it's all good. Yeah.
Some people tumble their cases.
That's what I was going to ask
People put
about.
them in an ultrasonic cleaner, and then even when you tumble, there's two different kinds. You can tumble with corn cob or walnut. I actually use a blend of both. Or you can use stainless steel ball bearings, which I hear works better, but it costs more. You can use a tumbler that's sideways rotary, like for polishing rocks, or you can use one that's a big bowl, and you just put your brass in there, and it shakes it around for a while, and you can put polish in if you want. A little trick is to throw old dryer sheets in there, and they suck up the dirt, and it helps pull some of the dirt out of the media and that sort of thing. Eventually, the stuff wears out. The media wears out, and you got to replace it. Dusty explained to me that it's got sharp edges. The media does, and then as you use it, it starts to round it out, and that's how it loses its efficiency.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't put anything in there about tumbling the cases to clean them. And different people have different opinions on how you should do it, and some people don't do it at all.
Okay.
With
One thing about the
tumbling
tumbling,
medias?
if you're using a dry media, is it takes a long damn time if the cases are dirty.
But Tony, it's one of the easiest things you can do in reloading. You put them in there, you don't, and then you set it and you walk away. You come back a couple hours later.
I put mine in if they're dirty and go to bed.
Yeah.
Turn it off in the morning.
So they don't have are there models that have timers on them that you could just program and it'll take care of itself? It'll shut itself off when it's done. Does that even matter at all? Or can you overdo the polishing on it? Can you overdo the the prep on the shells?
On the ultrasonic cleaners, I believe there's timers. On the tumblers, I haven't seen one. Most of the ones out there look the same, and there's a few differences, like how you drain the media out or that sort of thing. But it wouldn't be anything to get a light timer, say for an aquarium, and plug it into that, and there would be your timer if you didn't.
In a dry media situation, if you're using walnut or corn cob, you're not going to over tumble them.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't. No, longer is better. My rule of thumb is 90 minutes to 2 hours, but I've left them in there for several hours, and sometimes they come out a little bit cleaner, and sometimes they don't. But leaving them in overnight, all it really is your electric bill. That's it, and it doesn't. They
Yeah.
don't use a lot of juice. So
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that.
I just
what
don't listen to the damn thing, so I put them in and turn it on when I go to bed.
fall asleep to the sweet sounds of the media tumbling, Yeah. What is a
One
primer
other-
pocket? Oh, go ahead, guys.
One
Yeah.
other thing on the media tumbler.
Yeah.
If you're using a dry media, it gets really dusty.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So you might want to take it outside of your house to empty the shells out of it.
Yes, you actually dump it into a device that will shake it and get most of the media out. There's a couple different devices out there for that. They're not that expensive, and it's almost like sifting sand. You will get if you mix calibers in there, you will get a small case jammed in a large case every now and then, and you pull it out, and then a bunch of corncob media falls out, that sort of thing. But for the most part, it'll get them clean. If it doesn't, you can just toss them back in there and run them through with another batch or that sort of thing. And then afterward, if the primer pocket is the cavity at the base of the bullet where the head stamp is and all that, where you insert the primer. And when you run the case through a resizing die, it'll have a pin in it that will pop out the old primer. If you choose to, you can get a small tool and twist it into the primer pocket to clean out any carbon. You don't always have to. It's really a matter of preference or whatnot. Or you just maybe you notice one that's really bad and you clean it out. It's just something extra you do. If you deprime your brass before you tumble it, I haven't seen with mine that it makes the primer pocket any cleaner, but maybe with other methods it might. Another thing too is when you get the brass ready to put into the dies, if you're using steel dies, you have to lube your brass, and there's different forms of lube. There's a paste and there's a spray. If you use carbide dies, you do not have to lube your brass. However, I know people that do still
That
lube
is only
either way.
that is only true on straight wall.
Okay, all right.
Rifle bottleneck cases, you have to relube them in the carbide dies.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that, Tony. I did not know that. Whether I've got carbide dies or not, I lube them. I've got a spray lube, but I also have a wax and a paste, and I guess I like the Imperial wax best, but I will use the RCBS spray lube. I'm thinking about getting a bottle of the Dillon spray lube. See if that's sometimes if I'm just doing a couple real quick ones, I'll just hit them with the spray. But that's something so you don't get them jammed in the dies, and that's something so that you don't have the friction and you've got metal on metal and you're wearing stuff out.
Yeah.
And then to deburr or chamfer the brass is something that you need to do if you've got something where the neck meets the bullet. If you've got any burrs around there, you can take those sharp edges off or bevel it out almost. I mean, there's a die that opens it up like a bell shape, so you can put the bullet in there, but you can chamfer it a little bit just to give it kind of to bevel the insides if you have to, but that's not something you normally do.
Okay.
Now on that, you'll find that on your handgun cases, if you're using a heavy rolled crimp, you will have to dress the mouth of the case much more.
Before you reload the bullet.
Yes,
Okay,
because
the slug.
it just basically damages the end of the case when you roll the crimp and then shoot the gun or shoot the round out of a gun.
Travis M is commenting on the YouTube side. Primer pocket readers help the primer sit flush. What do you guys think about that?
I rarely clean primer pockets. I have a reamer, but only when I buy Milsurp
Oh, okay.
30-06 ammo if I run into any pocket problems.
If you get the primer in there and it's not seated, you can usually put it back in the press and give it a pull, and it'll squish it back in there and then seat it flush. If it's not flush, that's not good. You're gonna have feeding issues and that sort of thing. If you can't get it back in there flush, well, you know what a desk pop is, Travis, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen
Well,
a couple.
yesterday on the early watch, I did 2 desk pews, and
Yeah.
that's where I took the case
I heard it.
with
Yeah.
the primer.
Yeah.
You heard that? Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did desk pews. So you could put the case, no powder, no bullet, whatever, in your firearm, and that firearm pin strikes that primer, pops the primer, and then you just put the case back into your inventory and put it right back through the reload process.
There you go.
Tony, yesterday you mentioned something about just using the decapping pin to just pop it out.
Yeah, I've done that a number of times.
And see, I tried that once with a live primer in there, and I set off the primer, and it blew up in the die and bent the hell out of that pin, and I had to go get a new pin. The die took the pressure. Nobody got hurt. I mean,
There's one thing you should buy when you buy your die is buy 1 or 2 extra of the decapping pins.
absolutely,
They're like
absolutely.
$3 a piece.
Yes, absolutely.
And it will ruin your damn day to break your decapping pin off and then have to de-prime everyone with the freaking punch.
Oh.
There's
Down
also
that trail.
Lee sells a universal decapping die with a universal decapping, and it pretty much works on everything. Well, at least everything I've tried through it. That would be something where you would take a single stage, one of your extra single stages off to the side, and put that in there and just use that. So if you did mess up your resizing die with the decapping pin for that particular caliber, you could use a universal until your replacement pin comes in. But if you're ordering some stuff, it's nothing to throw a couple $3 pins on the order.
Definitely. Yeah.
And you may never ever use them, but when you need it,
Yeah.
you don't want to wait 3 days.
If you're loading a couple hundred rounds and you get 20 rounds into it, and for some reason or another you break off that pin and you don't have a spare, and you got to wait a week because your local isn't going to carry it, you're going to have to order it.
Yeah. AWAG, we're talking about the bullet pullers. Haven't I seen some of your earlier videos on YouTube where you did that? You would pull bullets and show off the slugs. What do you recommend for a bullet puller? What do you like to use?
I love the RCBS bullet puller. It uses a collet specified for the diameter of the bullet. Being the curious George over here, likes the old Russian surplus 7.62 by 54R, and I want to know what's in them. Like the Hungarian heavy ball is what works in all of my Mosins like perfectly. I can't find any in the ammo anywhere, sadly. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll try to recreate it. I go to pull the bullet. The bullet is like 168 grains.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty heavy, but the bullet is like about 1.5 inches long. It's huge, and it's kind of strange, but it was really hard to pull that bullet, because what it does is the collet just grabs hold of the ogive of the bullet, which is the curved part of the bullet,
Mm-hmm.
and it basically just crimps down on it, and then you use the single stage press on a backstroke to basically separate the case and the bullet. That way you can see what's in a round. I also did that with my local range had like this found ammunition sale. It was like a box of reloads that somebody had left by. I paid them like $50. It was like 600 rounds of reloads.
Okay.
I took every one of those rifle rounds apart to see what they were, and the only thing that I haven't gotten to yet is I got like 300 rounds of brass case 7.62 by 39, but it's kind of sad they were left out in the rain, so all the powder's like all caked and everything. It doesn't like rattle when you shake it.
Uh-huh.
So some of that stuff you can take apart, use the bullets, the case, but some of the stuff like the primers, you'd have to do a desk pew or take the risk of depriming them.
While I am not as curious as AWAG there, I have pulled a few bullets with that stupid freaking plastic hammer.
Yes,
Oh,
the
I
kinetic,
hated those things.
the kinetic
works.
bullet puller.
But it
They
don't
make your
work
hand hurt after
very
a
good.
while.
But I'll
Okay.
tell you a trick. You want that thing on a solid piece of concrete with a rubber pad or something on it. something you can wail on it pretty good with if you want to get crimped bullets out.
Okay.
Yeah, you do. Don't hit it up against the top of a toolbox and smash a hole right through the lid. There. I've got both. They're both RCBS. I recommend them. The kinetic bullet puller is good for something quick, or if you have to pull a bullet and you don't have a collet for the press mounted one. I prefer the one that's the RCBS die, and you've got the different collets that you change out. I don't have every single one, but as I notice I'm missing this or that, or I might need this or that, I order another collet, and it's so much cleaner and easier. But with the kinetic puller, the hammer, it pretty much covers most calibers, and I get range pickups. You'll see a primer strike and it didn't go off, and I'll take it apart just for the bullet. I pitch the brass, I might reuse the brass. It's usually steel case where you can't reload steel case, or at least you shouldn't. So
Yeah.
if I can salvage the bullet, I don't reuse the powder because I have no idea what powder was in there. So I can't get an accurate, I could say, well, I'll just use the exact same amount of powder in the same caliber, but I don't know what was loaded in there, so I don't even bother. But I will use it to salvage bullets for reloading. Also, if you are out there and you get a light primer strike or something, you can take it apart and see what exactly happened. But a bullet puller is a good thing to have. I don't want to say it's a necessity, but if you don't have one, you'll eventually think it's a necessity. You'll want one. So and bullet puller, to give you an idea, that was just two different forms of bullet pullers. With reloading, there's usually multiple forms of everything, different kinds of scales, different kinds of bullet pullers, different kinds of dies, different kinds of presses, different kinds of calipers, different kinds of powder measures, different kinds of different kinds of tumblers for your brass. There's all kinds of different, not just the brands, but styles of tools to use for reloading, and everybody will find this works for me and this is what I like, and what you like may not be what your friend likes, and that's all good and fine. Sometimes you can get ideas from other reloaders. You can say, hey, what brand do you use, or what style do you use? And if it works for you, fine. If it doesn't, don't hold it against them. So
Yeah, so do a little research, read some reviews, maybe watch some videos, ask around. Over on gunchannels.com, we got a lot of guys that are really into reloading, so find a good resource, and then you can ask, hey, do you have any experience with this particular tool? Do you have any experience with that one? What do you recommend? And then kind of do your own homework before you buy.
When you talk to your people, your friends or acquaintances, whatever,
Yeah.
and they recommend the press that they use, ask them what else they have.
Okay.
Because almost nobody is willing to admit that they got a Lee press.
Which is funny because that's exactly what I was looking at on Amazon this morning. The Lee Precision Loadmaster 9mm Luger reloading pistol kit.
okay, there's nothing wrong with Lee.
No, there's not.
You can't go
Yeah,
wrong
there's
with Lee.
not.
There are a lot of people that swear by Lee, but there are a few people that either don't want a Lee or won't say they have a Lee because it is the most affordable. Just because it is the most affordable does not mean it is junk. It is actually really good. Now, the Cadillac of all presses is Dillon. I'm not going to lie. I want a Dillon. Everybody should want a Dillon. But if you can't afford a Dillon, or you want to work your way up to a Dillon, there's nothing wrong with having a whole bench with different presses. I mean, at a certain point, it might be really cool to have 6 different presses.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Dillons. You're looking at almost triple the price of the Lee. But again, it's what do you got to think maybe long term. Is this something you want to do for a long time? Do you want to have the best experience you can? Spend the money and get the quality gear.
Well, if you're a beginner and you're
I
not
would-
sure you want to get into it, or
Yeah.
that sort of thing, you get a single stage Lee start out, and then maybe work your way up to a Dillon. You'll still want. I mean, you could always put that Lee on Craigslist and sell it.
True.
But
Yeah.
I think you may get attached to it and not want to give it up, right, Tony?
That to start with, I would recommend anybody go buy the Lee Challenger press kit, because that gives you the scale, the powder measure.
Oh yeah.
The press. Did it give? Oh, it gives a primer tool, which is the biggest piece of garbage I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But it gives you everything you need, but the dies and the actual material that you put back into the bullets when you make them. For $130.
Yeah, say Amazon's got them for 116. I mean, for somebody who just wants to see if they're going to like it before you make the big investment, and then after that, if you really enjoy it, you want to take it serious, you want to step up the game, then invest in the quality equipment. You don't have to burn a lot initially to get into it. It's not like you're dropping $1,000 here.
I, I started out with that setup 35 years ago, 30 years ago, something like that. And the only change I've made so far is I bought one of them little Lee C presses to mount beside it. I use 2 presses at once.
Okay.
Now, something that I see it as with reloading, it's not really, hey, you need all this stuff right now, this instance. It's kind of like building an AR in my case. It's you buy the main thing first, like your lower receiver. Like I would buy the press first. That's what I did is I bought a used RCBS Rock Chalker Supreme for 85 bucks, and I just kind of built off of that. I went to Cabela's and I got a Lyman reloading handbook, and then I got some dies. Then I got the Hornady lock and load thing that makes everything quicker. Then I ended up going to a yard sale and getting a bench. Then I got some other stuff. It's just I built upon it. I didn't buy it all at once.
Yes, that's the way I did it. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If you want to get started into it as a beginner and you're fairly new to it, that Lee kit gives you everything you need, except for the actual powder bullet, primers.
But if you start off with a
die.
single stage and you work your way up to a progressive, you may still hold on to that single stage. Maybe it's sentimental, or maybe you just realize, hey, there's certain things that single stage you got to have it for. And so don't think that buying something up front that is more affordable because you're not really sure if you're going to, how far into it you're going to get, how much money you're going to invest, or are you even going to keep doing it? Don't think that because you don't spend $1,000 on a piece of equipment right out the get-go that you're I mean, in some ways it is a money pit. I've said on the air, it's a money pit. It is. Yeah. But that equipment that you buy that's affordable to start off with, that comes in that kit, will get you going, and you can still use that later on. Or, maybe you give it to your son, maybe you give it to your niece or your nephew or your daughter or your brother or another Gun Channels member, or you put it on Craigslist, something like that. There are, everybody donate all your leftover stuff to Travis. But
I'll take it.
there are a lot of positive things that can come out of there. So if you say, oh, well, I'm getting a beam scale right off the get-go. I don't want a beam scale. I want something that measures it for me, or I want a digital or something like that. You might want to hold on to that beam scale, or that sort of thing. So I mean, Tony's given really good advice there. The kit has got everything in it, and if there's something in the kit that you don't like, you can always buy extra, buy more, buy different, or buy for priming brass, for putting the primer in there, there's lots of different tools. I've got 3 different tools for putting primers in brass.
That's the beauty of that Lee setup, is it comes with its 2 different ways to prime brass. It comes with one that goes in the press, which is what I use, and then it comes that hand primer, which I broke right away.
Dusty, you've got a Dillon. It's a pretty good press, right? I mean, it really is a Cadillac.
I love the Dillon press, and that's something I bought it used. But I also have a rock chucker. I still use that single stage press. A lot of times with it, I'll set up my load, do 2 or 3 of them. Once I get that load to where I want it, then I'll duplicate it on the progressive press and make a bunch of them.
There you have it, people.
Well, guys, we're
going to turn out shitloads of ammo. You need progressive, because you're going to spend your whole dang weekend on a single stage trying to turn out 1,000 rounds of ammo.
So you're going to run out of time.
Well, not necessarily. With my Rock Chucker Supreme, I've built upon that. With the Hornady lock and load, the quick change, everything, I bought a auto prime unit for it at Cabela's for like 20 bucks, and I can crank out 300 rounds in an hour. I mean,
you've got me by about twice. I can do about 150.
He's younger and faster, guys. We can't compete with that. He's like,
and another thing is the Lee makes the perfect powder throw. That for my cases is incredibly accurate. You can fill that with powder and just throw it once, and usually it's within 0.1 grains of each other every throw from what I've seen. So I can
Uh,
hammer out quite a bit of rounds, which function perfectly fine when I take them to the range.
you need
So,
to, when you buy that thing new, you need to wipe that thing down with a dryer sheet really good.
yeah, it's staticky. It gets pretty staticky because it's all
Okay.
plastic. That's the only gripe I have with it.
Gotcha. Oh, guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. If we can, if possible, maybe we can do a part two because there's a few things we didn't get a chance to get into today with the time that
need
we
to get
have.
into something before we split.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony. Yeah, you guys want to say a few final anything about reloading, anything, a few little parting words of wisdom, whatever. Go ahead. Yeah.
Powder.
Yeah.
Do your research on powder choice because powder is not powder. It's not all
Yeah.
the same. Using the same amount of one powder as another will get you freaking killed.
Okay. Make sure you know what you're dealing with. Make sure you know your measurements.
Yeah,
Do your research on your powder.
Don't buy one powder and think it's going to fit all. I mean, there are some powders that you can use in a shotgun that you could use in a 45 ACP, or there are some powders that you can use in a rifle and a handgun. And your reload manuals will show you that, either the paper manuals that you buy, or if you go on the manufacturer's websites, they will have free reload data. But don't just go get a bottle of this and go, ha, I'm going to reload my 9mm and my 300 Win Mag with this. It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
So yeah.
One thing that you absolutely need, and this is what I should suggest to anybody that's new with reloading, buy a reloading handbook before you buy any of the machinery that you need, because if you have all the machinery and you just try to reload willy-nilly, you're not going to have all the necessary information for the cartridge that you're running. Say if you're reloading for 7mm '08 Remington Magnum, you can't. There's certain specifications for that round. See, if you have even a few grains off, it could be catastrophic for even for a rifle round, which is pretty forgiving. So that's my suggestion to any new reloaders is just go buy a Lyman reloading handbook or the Nosler reloading handbook.
I'll give
Yeah.
a second thumbs up to the Lyman books too, because there's a lot of useful information in there other than load data.
Yeah, there's instructions in the front of the book, and it's kind of a slow read, like a Stephen King novel. But if you go into it and you have no idea what you're doing, if you read it, I would say, depending on how what your learning process is, maybe read the instructions in there, and then fool around with some of your reloading stuff. Don't necessarily load a cartridge, but look at it and read about it and go, okay, that's what it looks like. Or look at a YouTube video, but also read the manual as well, because a YouTube video may skip over something.
Oh yeah.
The YouTube video is good for a visualization. But when in doubt, go back to your instructions. This is something we used to do in aviation maintenance, is we would bring our checklists or our we call them publications or repair manuals out on the flight line with us, and we would go over the repair process, even if we had done it 100 times, just because we didn't want to screw something up and have somebody fall out of the sky on fire. Now, with reloading, once you get to a point where you know this or you know that, I'm not saying that you have to keep referring back to the manual, but make sure you keep those instructions that come with that die. Make sure you keep those instructions that come with that press, whatever it is, in case you need to. And another thing too is how you set a set of Hornady dies is not necessarily the same way you set a set of Lyman dies or that sort of thing. So just having the instructions and go, oh wait, on this one I got to do what, and then you just go back and look. Don't be embarrassed to go back and look. So.
Yeah. There's a lot of comments on the YouTube side. Travis M is saying, buy the new Lyman book, read it cover to cover, make some dummy rounds first. You need to educate yourself on this whole process before you just jump right into it and start pressing out rounds. You need to make sure you know what you're doing. You need to understand the powders that you're working with, the whole process. You need to make sure that you understand it before you actually do it. Probably the biggest thing. Yeah.
We really need to do a part two because there's
we will.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah. We got through about half of the outline
I know
today.
a few
So, yeah.
tips and tricks about setting up the dies that make it really quick.
Okay.
listening to this stuff, if somebody's listening to it or watching this later and they're saying, oh, this is just too intimidating, I will say getting into reloading is intimidating for people at first. They're concerned that they're going to blow up their gun. They could, get hurt. That they don't understand the technical terms. What are calipers? What are dies? I don't understand. What's the difference between this and what different? You learn as you go. If you've got other people that that reload, I mean, just go to gun channels. I have never met anybody who reloads who says, no, I'm not telling you. No, people want to share the information. They want to share their experience. They want to see somebody else reloading. It's kind of like when you get into motorcycles, and then you start meeting other people that ride, and they'll give you tips and pointers and stuff because they want to see more people riding. Reloaders usually want to see more people reloading. So there's lots of people out there. So don't be intimidated if we're talking about this safety stuff. Safety is, like what you said, Travis, it's paramount. It is the most important thing. You don't want to have a bad experience with this because it damaged your gun or got you hurt or embarrassed you on the range. But on the other hand, just understand that once you get into it, it's just like anything else. As long as you put that safety first, you can enjoy it. So don't be intimidated by it, even though there's so many technical terms and there's so much equipment. And you're going, wait, how many different steps do I have to go through to make this work? It's just, you have to get over that hump, right? Okay. It's like taking somebody to the range for the first time who's never shot a gun, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. We'll definitely, if you guys are up for it, if this will work for you, I'd like to do a part 2 because we do have about half of the outline from what we discussed. There's a lot of other items to talk about. Tony, you guys want to join us? We'll plan on a part 2 in the near future, maybe next weekend, depending on what you guys have time for. But we will definitely, the next Caliber Corner will be dedicated to the second half of the series. Okay. AWAG, do you want to share a few words here before we part? Just a few words. Reloading. What do you think? I mean, do you find it? Yeah.
I kind of jumped around a little bit on
it's okay.
The little outline, but we did cover the reloading handbooks a little bit. That honestly is paramount for reloading. Another thing is once you get into reloading, don't forget to wash your hands because especially when you clean cases, either wet or dry, primers and stuff have, I don't know if they do mercury anymore, but it's very small amounts of lead in the primers. And when you have, say you put 100 cases in a reloading or a tumbler, and you get that water in there and you go to either dump it out or scoop your hand in there to get the cases out, that's basically lead water that can seep into your pores. So get a good, basically a de-lead soap if you can. That's always a good thing to have.
AWAG, I went ahead and I put in my notes here, further down where I've got lead for casting bullets. I went ahead and made a note to add in wash hands so we can bring it up again. If we pick this up where we left off, we'll be starting off with hand tools and then go to the reload manual and then to components. So, but I went ahead and I made a note of that. And then I also made a note to, Clay was talking about black powder cartridges. So I put that down at the bottom in advanced reloading because I don't really know where to put that because black powder is something else you can load with the same equipment as smokeless powder. But there's a few differences in how you pack the powder in the case. So.
Okay. Dusty, you want to say anything before we go? Any final comments on reloading? Anything anybody should take into consideration, or any wisdom you want to share?
Well, today mostly we hit a lot of general points. We really didn't get into any detail on anything, so there is a lot more that could be done. I know I was telling Squid the other day, I walk in my reloading room and I wonder how I got so much equipment. So, once you start, if you got to do a job, you buy another piece of equipment. You just keep buying, and before long, you have a whole setup. So it's
gotcha.
Very easy to. And like I said, my room is full. I've got all kinds of stuff now. But typically, if I buy a new gun, I go ahead right away and I buy the dies and stuff for that new caliber gun I bought also. So,
well, I mean, to be able to produce your own rounds for it, why not? Because you don't know if you're going to have that next scare. You don't know if prices are going to go up. You don't know. So, all right. Squib, anything else you want to leave us with? I mean, like I said, if you guys are up for it, I'd like to do a part 2. Definitely to go over more information. Any final parting words, Squib?
If reloading's not for you, it's not for you. But if you want to see what it's like to get into it, if you're into shooting, I'm sure you've got somebody who reloads, and they will not hesitate to let you pull the lever on their progressive, and then you'll get hooked. So
Cool. All right, Tony, any final words?
When you start into reloading, weigh your charges carefully. I mean, you're talking to a person who has had to have a cylinder repaired in a Ruger Super Blackhawk Hunter.
Oh.
Loaded by making
Very.
a stupid damn mistake.
Yeah, but that's all it takes is that one little mistake, and look what happens, right?
I've seen 2 guns blow, and it ain't pretty.
Oh, no. I'm sure it's cheap too, right? To get it fixed.
It didn't cost me nothing to get the Ruger fixed. They stood behind it. They said
Okay.
it should have took that overload, but it's still, I was 5 weeks without my gun.
Yeah. True. So again, it's just, again, we can't stress safety enough on this. So again, if you're watching the video, you're just joining in, go back, watch all the important points that we make, but safety, reading a correct manual, educate yourself on what you're doing, take your time before you get into it. There's no reason to rush into it. And then you'll be able to reload safely.
But it fits right in.
Traction.
Yeah.
It fits right into the way you end all of your videos, Travis. You say, have fun and be safe. And this is something where you can have fun and both be safe and and do both, and there's not a problem with it.
There you go. Hey, so just want to thank some of the viewers for tuning in on the gun channel side. We've got Clay who was with us, Moonfood78 was there, Arctic was there, Patrick. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. I want to thank you guys for watching this morning, and like I said, hopefully we can do this next week if possible, if it works with your schedule. If not, we'll make it work the week after. Travis M was with us today the whole time, AC97, and again, we have some people that are still watching, so I want to thank all of you guys. Raphael was here too, also from the gun channel side. And guys, I want to thank you for joining me today. And again, I know we've got a lot more to talk about, so we'll definitely make a part 2 out of this. And I think on that note, we'll go ahead and call it. So AWAG, Dusty, Squib, Tony, I want to thank you guys for helping me with this, because I know nothing about reloading. I mean, again, I'm one of those people that I'm so into cheap ammunition. It's like, I'm not going to invest the money in reloading, but there's so much more than just the financial side that you can benefit from this. And again, if we're going to do this, we got to make sure we do it safely. So, all right, guys. Hey, thank you for joining me, everybody. And we will, this is Caliber Corner number 5. You guys, appreciate your time coming in on a Saturday morning, bright and early. So I can let you guys get back to reloading now.
Hey, it was my pleasure, man. Thanks for inviting me.
Hey, it's always awesome talking to you guys, Tony. I need to try to get on to early watch with you guys more often, too. I should be able to do that here soon. So, cool. All right, guys. Again, this has been Caliber Corner number 5. I'm Travis P11, and we are out.